You won't see this on the news. You won't hear about it in the headlines. But this is the real story of the Jewish people in Israel today. Watch this.
יום כזה מרגש, יום שישי, החבר'ה האלה, עצרת הצעירים, עזבו את הבית ובאו להוציא מכאן, בבית שלנו, משפחת פיטי, בשכונת הכרת, בקיבוץ נמרים, 15. הבית שלנו כולו נשרף, כאן יעתניאל חילץ אותנו, מחכים לחצי מתרגשות רבה.
מרגש הקשר שנוצר בינינו ובין משפחת פריקר מבארי, שאבא שלי חילץ ב7 לאוקטובר. היום הם הביאו לנו 5 עצים מבארי לשתול פה בעתניאל.
כבוד גדול בשבילנו לבוא לפה לזכר אלחנן, לנטוע את העצים.
לקראת העץ האחרון אני רוצה לברך, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הטוב והמיטיב.
אמן.
תודה רבה לכם.
תודה לכם, תודה על הזכות ועל האפשרות לעשות דברים טובים. אנחנו רואים בזה שליחות גדולה.
לא סמיינו ויאדם תעצי סיגור. גם אנחנו, כמו עצים האלה, נהייתה שורשים עמקים במקום הזו, בקיבוץ בארי ובאנו את זה.
האחדות והביחד הזה מחזק ומשמח, אני בטוח שזה מה שאבא שלי רצה. ושניפגש בשבילי יהודה.
A family from Kibbutz Be'eri, a community devastated by the October 7th massacre. Families that were massacred in their homes. Other families torn apart, loved ones taken hostage, people brutally murdered. Some of those surviving families from Kibbutz Be'eri today are standing together with their fellow Jews in Otniel, a settlement in the Judean hills near Hebron, planting trees, building for the future in a very land, our biblical ancestral homeland that they once opposed Jews living in. Let that sink in. Kibbutz Be'eri is known for many of the residents having a leftist ideology. Many of its residents opposed Jews living in Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland of our people. And yet today, some of those families came to plant their own trees in Otniel in Judea and Samaria, not in anger, not in opposition, but in unity. Because on October 7th, the blinders came off for so many Jews in Israel. And one story in particular changed everything. Elchanan Kalmanson, Hashem Yikom Damo, a hero, a Jewish warrior. He, his brother, and his nephew received the distress calls coming from the Gaza border communities. The reports were beyond anything imaginable. I remember seeing them also early in the morning. An invasion of Hamas terrorists infiltrating into the Jewish communities along the Gaza border, butchering families, burning homes, and taking hostages. Elchanan, his brother, and his nephew, all in their homes, they didn't hesitate. They jumped into action knowing full well the risk ahead for them. They didn't wait for the IDF to take care of it. They went to take care of it even without receiving any orders from the IDF. They left their families on the Simchat Torah Chag that morning. They drove down south and they fought their way into Kibbutz Be'eri through gunfire and chaos, moving from house to house, rescuing families one by one, pulling up their jeep to the entrance of the homes to give as much protection as possible, if they were able to, as they slipped into the homes, to pull out their survivors from their safe rooms. Parents clutching their children, elderly survivors who had locked themselves in their safe rooms. The Kalmanson brothers and the nephew pulled them out under fire, under unimaginable conditions. In one case, they reached a house where a group of civilians was trapped inside with terrorists all around the house. The Kalmanson brothers and the nephew led them out, shielding them with their own bodies. And then in the final moments of their mission in saving as many as they could, Elchanan fell, shot and killed by the Islamo-Nazi Hamas terrorists as he fought to protect and save Jewish lives without receiving any orders. Elchanan's sacrifice was not in vain. Thanks to his bravery, together with his brother and nephew, dozens of Jews from Be'eri survived that day. And now 18 months later, some of those very same families have come to Otniel, to the home of Elchanan's family, to plant their trees from their home in Be'eri, in Otniel, in his memory, and to stand in unity with Jews who they once saw as the other. This is what we are not told about in the mainstream media. The Jewish people here in Israel today and around the world, we are not a divided people. We are not enemies with one another. We are one family. Might have differences, but we're one family. The people of Be'eri saw firsthand who their real brothers are. Fellow Jews were willing to risk everything to save them despite their differences. That is the real Israel. But instead of telling us these stories, what does the mainstream media focus on? Corruption cases, investigations, political infighting, divisiveness within the people. They want us all to think that Israel is crumbling within. They want everyone to be distracted by court cases against Netanyahu, by protests against different sectors of Israeli society, with daily headlines designed to divide and demoralize us. But let me tell you the truth. While they try to manipulate us with dirty political schemes to topple the government by hijacking true anger and true hurt regarding real issues and differences in society, the actual people of Israel, soldiers, reservists, families who have suffered, Jews from all walks of life, religious, ultra-Orthodox, not religious, we mostly all stand together, united in purpose as a Jewish people in our homeland, because not everything is political. Our survival, our mission, our very existence in our ancestral homeland is way above politics. No, the Jewish people are not divided. We are not enemies. We are family with family differences. But unfortunately, right now, the media and certain public officials want us all to believe that there will be a civil war in Israel. And I'm here to tell you with 100% certainty that there will be no civil war in Israel. Because a civil war requires two sides. And we don't have two sides who want to fight each other in Israel. What we do have is one tiny, small, violent, and angry minority, powerful and rich, supported by a mainstream media machine that amplifies their voices, magnifies their rage, and spreads fear that Israel is on the brink of collapse. The rest of the country is united in purpose despite our differences, no matter how serious they are. And make no mistake, this fear-mongering isn't accidental. It's intentional. Prominent political left-wing figures, including former Supreme Court Justice Aaron Barak, former Prime Minister Ehud Barak, former Defense Minister Moshe Boogie Ya'alon, protest leader Shikma Bressler, and others have openly threatened civil war. Supreme Court Justice Aaron Barak, who helped engineer Israel's activist judiciary, said there could be blood in the streets, quoting him. Former Prime Minister Ehud Barak declared, quote, "We are in a pre-civil war situation." Moshe Boogie Ya'alon, former defense minister, went even further, saying, quote, "A violent confrontation is inevitable," end quote. And Shikma Bressler, one of the protest movement's most visible leaders, warned, quote, "The time will come when we will have to use more than just protests." These aren't fringe voices. These are protest leaders, former Supreme Court justices, former prime ministers and defense ministers, encouraging internal strife and chaos, not because Israel is actually on the verge of collapse, but because they refuse to accept that the people of Israel elected a government to enforce policies that they don't like. They are literally willing to burn the country down just to topple Netanyahu and try to regain power, as they did with their protest movement in the name of protesting judicial reform before October 7th. They literally destroyed the IDF and our security services, not being prepared for October 7th. And they told us straight out that, quote, Netanyahu would not have an army in September, October 2023. Those are literal words of a number of the protest leaders, including on tweets before October 7th. They encouraged insurrection and prepared the country for failure on October 7th. But this is why their protest movement today has crumbled. The masses that came out to the streets back then before October 7th are no longer with the protest leaders today. They're alone in the streets with very, very few supporters. That was then before October 7th. Today, if one steps outside the media bubble in Israel, you will see and feel a very different reality. The vast majority of Israelis, religious, secular, left, right, Sephardi, Ashkenazi, ultra-Orthodox, proud Jewish settlers in Judea and Samaria, Kibbutznikim, we are mostly all united. We may not agree on everything, and we still have issues that we are all passionate about that divide us, but we know that we are one family. We will take care of them as a family, not resort to violence. We know that our enemies do not care whether we vote Likud, Yesh Atid, Shas. They don't care if we live in Tel Aviv, Haifa, or in Hebron, or Beit El. They want us all dead. And after October 7th, most Israeli Jews today in Israel understand this reality clearer than ever. The people of Kibbutz Be'eri, who once opposed Jews living in Judea and Samaria, now plant trees in Otniel in Judea and Samaria. That is the real Israel. That is the real understanding of the Jewish people in Israel today. But the mainstream media doesn't show you any of this. Instead, they amplify the voices of those few who place their divisive, demoralizing politics above the survival of the Jewish people and the Jewish state of Israel. Those who block roads, who refuse to serve, who attack politicians they disagree with, and who act anti-democratically, all in the name of, quote, saving democracy. But let's be very clear. Those tiny elite groups of protesters in the media headlines do not represent the Jewish people. They are a tiny radical fringe that gets a giant megaphone from the mainstream media that agrees with their agenda. And yes, they are angry. They are violent. But they are not half the country, not even close. What about the rest of Israel? We are one. We are united in purpose. We are strong, and we will never turn against each other the way our enemies pray that we will. The headline news will tell you that Israel is broken, that we're more divided than ever. But just like the trees being planted in Otniel and Judea and Samaria, our unity is growing, stronger than ever, unshakable, despite the real division that exists on issues that we do have to deal with. That is Israel, and that is the Jewish people today. So do not believe the headlines. Believe the reality. Am Yisrael Chai. And please help me share this video so we can let the world see the real Israel and the beauty of the Jewish people as exemplified by these families from Kibbutz Be'eri, survivors of the October 7th tragedy, uniting together with the family of Elchanan Kalmanson, Hashem Yikom Damo, and their brothers and sisters, proud Jewish settlers in Judea and Samaria. That is the real Israel. Am Yisrael Chai. That's it for today's daily, belief-based, inspiring, politically incorrect Pulse of Israel video. If you are not yet a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Go to pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe. We are heavily censored across social media platforms, and it's thanks to your donations, large or small, that we're able to do our work and get our videos seen. And we need a lot more money to be able to do a lot more work and get our videos seen by many more people. So every once in a while, please visit pulseofisrael.com and click on the donate button. Shalom everyone, and thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.